Hello dear all, myself Dhanya Divakar. Once again a warm welcome to my channel Shades of Literature. A big thanks to all out there for subscribing my channel and also for leaving your valuable comments. So today I am going to do a lecture on Can the Subaltern Speak by Gayatri Chakravarti Spivak. Before going into the essay, I'll give you a small introductory note on Gayatri Chakravarti Spivak and what she intends to explain in her essay Can the Subaltern Speak. So Gayatri Chakravarti Spivak was born in the year 1942 in Calcutta. She is considered as one of the unsettling voices in the genre of literary theories, especially post-colonial studies. I have done a series of lectures on post-colonialism like Frantz Fanon, Homi K. Bhabha, etc. Please do visit my channel, and those of you who are interested in watching those lectures, please do watch my lectures on post-colonial theorists. So Gayatri Chakravarti Spivak was also one amongst them. I'll be giving the link to those videos in my description box, so kindly do watch. So she is considered as an unsettling voice in the genre of literary theories, especially post-colonial studies. She calls herself as a practical deconstructionist, feminist Marxist, and also as a gadfly. Gadfly is somebody who criticizes others. Also she uses deconstruction to analyze how truth is constructed. So she ponders on the point of construction of truth also in her essay Can the Subaltern Speak. She also speaks about the harm done to the poor, women and the non-Europeans by the privileged West. In her essay, she also speaks about the violence, the epistemic violence. She writes against the epistemic violence and the discourses of knowledge. So all these points have been covered by or dealt in detail by Gayatri Chakravarti Spivak in her essay Can the Subaltern Speak. So now, what does the text or the essay Can the Subaltern Speak intend to justify? Gayatri Chakravarti Spivak tries to analyze how the Western culture investigates our own culture in her essay. She tries to prove or justify how that has been done in the essay. She also tries to rule out, or she overthrows the binary oppositions, such as the binary oppositions between self and the other, Occident and the Orient, majority and the minority, and also East and the West. So all these terms have been explained by me in one of my lectures on post-colonial literature or post-colonial theories. So please do refer to those videos. Those of you who haven't, please do try to refer to those videos. I'll anyhow give the link to those videos in my description box. So Occident and the Orient, self and the other. So self and the other, you know, self means the colonial powers and the other has been always portrayed as the colonized mass. So she tries to overthrow such binary oppositions. So this is what she intends to clarify or justify or tries to explain in her essay Can the Subaltern Speak? Now coming to the term subaltern. What do you mean by subaltern? See, whenever you learn post-colonial theories, there are lots of terms related to post-colonial theories, such as hybridity, hegemony, mimicry, then ambivalence. Such terms you have to keep in your mind. Also subaltern also is one such term which is related to post-colonial theory. Many terms are there. I have explained most of all these terms in one of my lectures. I'll give the link to that video in my description box. Please do watch those who haven't watched till now. So subaltern, the term subaltern in post-colonial terms means those colonized people who are politically, socially and geographically excluded from the hierarchy of power. So you would have understood. So all those colonized masses are known as the subaltern. Now according to Spivak, these colonized people belong to the third world countries and they are divided on the basis of caste, color, creed, gender and many other narratives, and because of this major reason they are colonized. Also, Spivak says that these people, they lack unity. The colonized people, they lack unity, and therefore lack of unity stands out to be a major cause for the colonial powers to come and colonize these people. So that is what you mean by the term subaltern, and this is what Gayatri Chakravarti Spivak tries to explain in her essay, Can the Subaltern Speak? Now, coming to the essay. The essay was published in the year 1988, and Spivak tries to justify 4 major points in her essay. The first point is truth construction. The second is epistemic violence, or Eurocentric knowledge is not innocent. That's the second point. The third point is the criticism of essentialist ideologies. And the fourth one is death of Bhuvaneshwari Bhaduri. So Spivak tries to explain her essay through these 4 major points. So whenever you learn Spivak and her essay, Can the Subaltern Speak, you have to keep in mind all these 4 major points. Coming to the first point, truth construction. Here Spivak uses deconstruction to analyze how truly the truth was constructed. She also gives an example here, and the example is that of Sati. We all know that Sati was a religious practice which prevailed in India before our independence, where many women, many widowed women were chased into the funeral pyre of their husbands, and very few willingly went into the fire. So after the Britishers colonized us, they outlawed this practice, and this saved the lives of many women. Though the lives of women were saved, according to Britishers, the white men saved brown women from brown men. So you have to really ponder on this statement, and this statement points out to a daring truth, and the truth is that Indians are barbarians and the Britishers are the civilized people, and therefore they have every right, or they have in every possible manner they can colonize Indians. So this is how they justified. Now Spivak says that our consciousness is randomly structured and our identities are written and framed by others. So this is what she means by truth construction. Somebody else's truth may not be justified by the other person, so it just depends on people, and this is what the colonial powers thought about our existence, or about the colonized mass. So she explains this very beautifully in the first part of the essay. You have to keep in mind the statement, the white men saved brown women from brown men. Coming to the second point, Eurocentric knowledge is not innocent. Here Spivak criticizes Foucault and Deleuze for committing epistemic violence. Epistemic violence is nothing but focusing and projecting Eurocentric knowledge to the third world countries. So we all know that the academic thinking and ideology of the Eurocentric people or Europeans are in no way related to ours. Their knowledge or their academic thinking and ideologies serves good for their interests only, not for ours. So here the Eurocentric knowledge is a commodity, and they try to sell it out. They just carry it out into the third world countries. They just sell it out into the third world countries. So it's a commodity, and it's been taken by the Europeans to the third world countries. So they are the producers. The Europeans are the producers, and therefore such knowledge is in no way innocent. That is what Spivak tries to explain in her essay. Also, she says that the Europeans are ideal. The European knowledge is ideal, and the Western thinking, they take these Western thinking into the third world countries, and therefore our identities are constructed and written by them. This is what she says. So we can also relate to that in every possible manner. So we know that the very education which we follow in our schools has come from such kind of thinking, and the books which we read, if we fail to decipher certain books, it's just because that we are not in any way related to such kind of literary narratives. So this is what Spivak tries to explain in the second part of the essay. Now the third point. The third point is criticism of essentialist ideologies. Here, Spivak uses Marxist ideology to criticize the leftists. The leftists consider the third world people and themselves as people who have similar ideologies or similar identities, and therefore this has a negative impact on the subalterns. So, because of this situation, three major issues or three major things can happen. This is what Spivak says. And the first one is this paves way for colonialism. The second one would be it provides a logocentric assumption of cultural unity for heterogeneous groups. And the third one would be the subalterns, rather than speaking for themselves, they wait for the Western intellectuals to speak about their situations or their conditions. This is what Spivak tries to focus in the third point. Coming to the fourth point, the death of Bhuvaneshwari Bhaduri. Here Spivak speaks about Bhuvaneshwari Bhaduri, who hanged herself in 1926. Her death was an instantaneous resistance against the patriarchal ideology. So, the death of Bhuvaneshwari Bhaduri, Spivak explains this way. She hanged herself when she was menstruating, and there was a belief in West Bengal during those days that if a young woman commits suicide, people used to believe that she was into some kind of love relationship. So, Bhuvaneshwari Bhaduri, she didn't want the people to think about her like that. She didn't want the others to underestimate her, that she is a weak person or somebody like that. She just wanted to convey her message to the patriarchy that she committed suicide for some other cause and not because she was into some relationship. Also, after a decade or so, her family found out that she was into an anti-colonial group of Indian independence struggle, and they had entrusted her with the task of killing a political figure, for which she hesitated and she didn't want to do that. She said a big no, and also that trust fact was also there. She belonged to a group which was fighting for the freedom struggle, and she just couldn't deny them, or neither could she commit the act which they asked her to do. So she was just torn between these two problems. She was torn apart, and she was in a dilemma, and the final resolution which she reached was how to hang herself or to commit death. So she just hanged herself, and this was found out by her family later on. So now Spivak concludes the essay by saying that it's very much difficult to reclaim and rewrite the history in the Western framework, because truth is constructed as Bhuvaneshwari's family constructed for her. So therefore subalterns cannot speak. So this is the gist of the essay, Can the Subaltern Speak? So I think I've done justice to the essay. Kindly do watch the video. If you have any queries, please do post your comments in my comment box. Also, those of you who are watching the video for the first time, please do subscribe my channel, Shades of Literature, and thanks to all for subscribing my channel and also for leaving your valuable comments. And finally, please don't forget to ping on the bell button so that you get notified whenever I upload a new video. So thanks for now. See you. Bye bye. Take care.